Howdy, this is Mike Tagg, your unshaven maven of all things college football, and today we're going to talk about a few of the spring games I've watched over the past couple weekends on television. I told you last time I did a video that the next video would be a breakdown of the defense, the Texas A&M defense, and the Texas A&M spring game, but that'll be coming pretty soon. Today we're just going to talk about the Michigan spring game, the Ohio State spring game, the Texas Tech spring game, the Oklahoma spring game, and the Alabama spring game. Not in that order. So I thought we'd start off with Texas Tech. They have a new head coach in Cliff Kingsbury. There's a lot of excitement down there that the local boy comes home, their former star quarterback. So they have a new quarterback this year. It's Michael Brewer. He was a tremendous high school quarterback at Lake Travis. I feel comfortable telling you right now he's going to pass for 4,000 yards this year. He'll probably lead the Big 12 in passing this season in 2013. He looked pretty good. Tech's defense was the big surprise. They're really strong. I mean, they won the scrimmage with the modified scoring system, but the most important thing is that they played well. They played better than expected. Right now, the way they looked, I mean, there are a bunch of guys, I don't really know their names, to be honest. They're not any standout recruits or standout players, but the way they looked like they'd be one of the better defenses in the Big 12 in 2013. But Brewer looked excellent. Jason Marrow is a tight end, flex, inside receiver. They've been hyping up a lot. He had 11 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. I still don't know if he's the real game breaker out there. Kenny Williams will be a junior and running back. It looked like they spent a lot of time throwing their running backs in the scrimmage, so people should expect him to have a big fall, just catching the ball in the backfield. They seem to concentrate on that a lot, getting the ball to their backs on the backfield. It's one of the base tenets of the spread offense. Their offense looked a lot like Texas A&M's in 2012, which I guess you expect. And their defense looked a lot like A&M's. They have, A&M's old linebacker coach, their defensive coordinator. I saw him run some 33 stack in the game. He did run some 4-3. He's varying things out there. He had the defense playing really well. That was definitely the surprise of the scrimmage. Oklahoma had their spring scrimmage also. They're trying to figure out who their quarterback is. Blake Bell was second string, the Belldozer. He's never been a great passer in games. He looked better than I thought. The guy who really surprised me was Trevor Knight. He completed 11 of 17 passes for 151 yards and a touchdown. He looked a lot more accurate than he had in high school. He has a big arm, but he came out of high school. It was kind of like a scud missile. It wasn't accurate, but he threw the ball really hard, so there's always that. He looked a lot better out there. And, they're going to have good receivers with Saunders back, and Trey Metoyer maybe he'll step up as a sophomore. Everybody's been waiting. He came out of high school, and he was rated as the best wide receiver in Texas. And so far, he took a year off for academics. He played last season. He wasn't a game breaker like they thought. He has 6 catches for 122 yards in the spring game. He has great body control. He can get the ball in the air. He looked good. It's just a question of, is he going to do it when the lights are on? I thought Sterling Shepard looked really good. They have good receivers. They have good skill position players, and running backs are solid. The real question for them is who their quarterback's going to be. They should be able to score because it's the Big 12 and no one really plays defense in the Big 12. They switched back to the 4-3 on defense. I don't know how good their defense is going to be. Mike Stoops is a really good defensive coordinator in my opinion, but they were horrible against the run last year. They couldn't stop anybody. They gave up almost 5 yards a carry on average, which is pathetic. So, and they lost that entire defensive line. On the bright side, it can't get much worse as far as playing against the run, but they were not impressive. So, we'll see. They look offensively, they looked a little better than I thought. Knight looked good, and Bell looked better than I thought too. He did pass for over 200 yards. He passed for 213 yards and 2 touchdowns on 14 of 23 completions. But I thought Knight looked the best at any the quarterback, so take that for what it's worth. In the Big Ten, I watched Ohio State play. Big Ten fans need to get ready because Urban Meyer is going to do at Ohio State what he did at Florida. He's going to try to make it a track meet out there. He's going to try to get the fastest kids in the country to come play for Ohio State. And when you're in a kind of a plodding, running league like the Big Ten is currently, it's going to be hard to keep up. And right now, really, the only team I could see keeping up with Ohio State is Michigan. But, so he's had 2 recruiting classes to try to get faster. And I'd probably say next year is when it's really going to all take effect. Some people think Ohio State's going to compete for a national title this year. I'm not really on that train. The Big Ten isn't that tough, and with I think Wisconsin will be down a little bit, so that'll help them a lot. But I'm not sold on them being a national title contender. I thought they got lucky to win a lot of games last year, so and they won some close games. So, I'm not convinced they're going to go undefeated, but they should be the best team in the Big Ten. Although Michigan will give them room for the money. But Braxton Miller, had a solid game. He completed 24 31 passes for 258 yards, and he did have one interception. But he's a weapon out there. In the Big Ten, where you have kind of on average, and I don't mean stereotype, but it's a fact. Their defenses, their players are a little bit slower than you'd find in the South on average. And when you have defenses that are slower like that, Braxton Miller is a huge weapon against them. He's mobile and he's effective out there, and he can break a defense down and really hurt break any defense's game plan down. So the fact of the matter is he's a threat in that league, and he'll probably be the player of the year in that league. His passing has gotten better. It's his third year on campus. He'll be a Heisman candidate just because of the league he plays in. I'm not quite convinced he's one of the best players in the country yet, but it's the Heisman. It doesn't have to be the best player. It has to be a really good player on a team that wins. And Ohio State will win at least 10 games next year. They might go 12-0 again, but I'm not convinced. I think it's too hard to go undefeated 2 years in a row. And I didn't think they were an elite team last year. They look good. They're physically, on the hoof, they look much better than they did last year. Their defense, they're back to having huge linemen on offense and defense, and the defense is always going to be one of the best in the country. So, they look like they'll compete, and in the Big Ten where there's just not that great competition, top to bottom, they're going to be they'll probably win it again. I'm just not convinced they're going to. I think they'll win it with a 10-2 record, 11-1 record rather than 12-0 like last season. I watched a little bit of the Michigan game. Devin Gardner looked really good at quarterback. He completed 11 of 16 passes for 142 yards and a touchdown. He looks better as a passer than Shoelace did at any of his time in Michigan. He's not the playmaker. I mean, who is? He's not the playmaker that Shoelace was, but he should be a good quarterback. And Michigan should move more towards the kind of typical Michigan team that Brady Hoke wants, where you run the ball, you're a power running team, you pass on play action, you have fast wide receivers split out wide or 6'3", you can run like deer, and you hit them with play action on a long pass and you score touchdowns, and then you play good defense. Michigan's getting better across the board, much like Ohio State is. I think Ohio State might be a little ahead of the curve just because of the way that Urban Meyer recruits and the way he trains his players as far as speed goes, and some of the players that were left from the previous regime. They might have a little more speed overall, but I think Ohio State and Michigan it's going to be back to being one of the greatest games every year, and one of the big rivalries as far as on a national scope. Two top 10 teams going at it because Hoke and Meyer are that good as coaches. So you have that to look forward to as a football fan, which is nice. And then I watched Alabama. Alabama, looked. It was funny because I DVR'd the games and I watched Texas Tech after Alabama, and it's like it's night and day. I mean, Alabama is a national title contender. I figured their defense would dominate the scrimmage. I thought that their defense would be blowing up the offensive line all day. The offensive line looked a little better than I thought. The defense didn't quite look as good as I thought they would. Cyrus Kwanjo is a hell of a left tackle. He looked good. The offensive line, just held up against that defensive line, against that front seven from Alabama. And if I was an Alabama fan, what would concern me is that there were a lot of open passing lanes underneath and in the intermediate range that teams running the spread are going to have a field day with. And Texas A&M, if they're if Kevin Sumlin's watching that spring game, he has to be laughing because there were screens open, there were short little slant passes open, there were wide receivers open, and with quarterbacks like Johnny Manziel, and whoever's going to play quarterback at Auburn, they're going to run a hurry up spread, although it's going to be more of a run base, and then Ole Miss. I mean, they're going to give Alabama some problems. I mean, people forget Nick Saban, who everybody thinks is this god head coach. He's 0-3 versus hurry-up spread offenses who have mobile quarterbacks. He lost to Utah in the Sugar Bowl in 2009. He lost to Cam Newton in 2010, and then he lost to Manziel in Texas A&M in 2012. That's 0-3. So he obviously, it's not something where he's going to sit down and find some secret formula for defending a spread quarterback and a defending Johnny Football, because it's just not there. You either can do it or you can't. And so far, he hasn't proven that he can get the job done against mobile quarterbacks against that defense. He wants to, Saban ideally wants to run the ball and play defense like an NFL team. And he was an NFL coach, and he learned under Belichick in Cleveland, and that's the way he runs Alabama, is like an NFL team. That's what he wants to do. So the reason, one of the reasons why he came out against hurry-up spread offenses and said they were going to cause injuries, because it was too fast and the players get hurt. You can't substitute. They'll be out there for 14 to 18 plays. Oh my God, these 18-year-old kids, 22-year-old kids, how will they ever survive? The reason he came out against that because he struggles to coach against those offenses. He loses games against them at times. So that's why I came out against it. And I'd be a little worried if I was Alabama, just because the linebackers and coverage look pretty poor, and they're the ones who have to step up. Now, on the bright side, I thought their safety play was great. Clinton Dix, I think, is going to be an All-American. If he's not an All-American this year, he will be as a junior. He'll be a sophomore this year. Landon Collins, who I thought was one of the best high school players I've ever seen in any position, had an interception in the scrimmage. He looks outstanding. I think he'll end up starting at safety next to Clinton Dix. Vinny Cincinnati had an interception for an 86-yard touchdown. I don't care. I just don't think Vinny Cincinnati is that great of a safety. I thought he was good as a freshman. He was very poor as a sophomore. I think he'll be maybe a fifth defensive back, third safety. I haven't been overly impressed with him. Some people are saying, the defense played great because they had 6 interceptions. Well, Alabama's backup quarterback threw about 3 interceptions, and I thought the secondary looked solid, but their defense was definitely not amazing. So on the bright side, they have some definite weapons on offense. T.J. Yeldon's their best offensive player. A.J. McCarron is a really good quarterback. He's phenomenal in BCS title games. One of the best performers ever in a BCS title game. As a regular quarterback, I don't know if he's just good. I don't know if he's excellent or exceptional yet. He's good in games. He's what Nick Saban wants. He's not going to hurt you with too many mistakes. T.J. Yeldon's their best offensive player, in my opinion. He's excellent. Catching the ball, running the ball. He's just a really great running back. We'll see what they look like when Derrick Henry gets back. He might be, the greatest power back that we've seen in a decade. So he has a broken tibia. We'll see how he performs. Amari Cooper is a great wide receiver. Kenny Bell had 3 receptions for 71 yards and a touchdown. He had a 40-yard touchdown reception. He's a definite difference maker opposite of Amari Cooper. And they have that freshman hybrid flex receiver, tight end, O.J. Howard come in. He had 3 catches for 22 yards. He'll get better as the year goes on. You can expect him to play as a freshman. The deal with Alabama is, Saban's only going to throw the ball 25 times in a game, unless he's, behind, he might throw 35. He's going to run the ball. So all these, you can have Amari Cooper might be the best receiver in the nation, but he's only going to get thrown to, he's not going to get, 150 passes thrown to him like he would in a spread offense. So he might have, 50 receptions for 1,000 yards instead of someone like Mike Evans, who is one of the potential All-American, at A&M. He'll have a chance to have 100 receptions this year. So he's not going to have the numbers. Kenny Bell's not going to have the numbers, but they're effective offensive weapons. I thought Alabama and Saban has made has improved his skill positions every year he's been there, and this might be one of the best offensive teams as far as skill position and talent at skill position as they've ever had. So that's about all I have for today. That's my take on all the spring games, and for my millions of viewers, or 63 I think was the last that I saw. That's the show for today. So hit me up, and if you have any comments, comment. Hit me up on the blog. Just wait till next season. I believe it's going to be jwtns.net now. We changed the URL, But that's all I have for today. So talk to you later.